Have you ever noticed how two people can face the same storm and respond in completely different ways? One sees the storm as the end of the road, the other as the beginning of a new chapter. One gives up, the other grows up. Why? Same event, same pressure, same uncertainty, but vastly different outcomes. The answer is simple, yet profound. Attitude. Let me tell you a story. Two close friends, same age, same job, same company. One morning, they both walk into a meeting and walk out unemployed. One panics, complains, spirals into frustration. The other takes a walk in the park, breathes deeply and whispers, "Maybe this is the chance I've been waiting for." Weeks go by. The first is still stuck in bitterness. The second, already building something new. This isn't about who was smarter or luckier or more prepared. This was about attitude. Jim Rohn once said, "It is the set of the sails, not the direction of the wind, that determines where we will go." Let that sink in. You can't control the wind, you can't predict every wave, you can't avoid every storm, but you can adjust your sails. Today we begin a journey into that adjustment. We explore what attitude really means, why it shapes more than our reactions, why it silently decides the quality of our lives, and how the tiniest shift in how we see can radically shift how we live. This is not about being blindly positive. It's not about pretending things are fine when they're not. It's about mastering your inner compass. Because if you can choose your attitude, you can choose your direction. And that's where power begins. So let's raise our awareness. Let's adjust the sails. Let's begin. What if today is the moment you realize it wasn't the wind that held you back? It was how you held the wheel. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like life keeps throwing curveballs? Just when you thought you were finally getting back on track? You make a plan, you set a goal, you even find the courage to start again. And then, a setback, a rejection, a deadline missed, a word of criticism that lingers longer than it should. And suddenly, everything feels heavier, like your efforts didn't matter, like maybe you're just not cut out for this after all. Like all your progress was just a mirage, disappearing at the first sign of resistance. Pause here. Because this is more common than we realize. Not because we're weak, but because we're human. Because we weren't taught how to handle failure, not emotionally, not mentally. We live in a world obsessed with results. Get the job, hit the milestone, post the highlight. But what do you do when things don't go as planned? What happens when life pushes back, when effort isn't enough, when your best day still leads to disappointment? Here's the truth. It's not the event that shapes your outcome. It's the attitude you carry through it. And most of us, we never learned how to choose our attitude. We were taught how to measure performance, but not how to manage perspective. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two people, same age, same background, same opportunity. Both get rejected from their dream job on the same day. One collapses inward. Their inner voice says, "See, I told you weren't good enough." They spiral into doubt, delay, distraction. They spend the next week doom scrolling, comparing, shrinking, questioning everything they once believed about themselves. The other feels the sting, of course, but then pauses, reflects, and says to themselves, "Maybe this wasn't the door I was meant to walk through yet." So they send another email, revise their resume, pick up a book, ask for feedback, and they keep moving, not with delusion, but with direction. With a mindset that says, "This chapter doesn't define me, it prepares me." Let that settle, because it's not about what happened to them, it's about the meaning they gave it. And meaning is the child of attitude. What you believe about what happened becomes what shapes your story. Think about your own life. How many moments did you give up, not because you lacked ability, but because you lost perspective? How many times did you replay a failure so many times in your head, it became your identity? It whispered to you in moments of silence and shouted at you in moments of courage. How often have you caught yourself saying, "This always happens to me. I'm just not that type of person. Maybe I should just lower my expectations." And then gradually, you start shrinking your dreams, not because you want to, but because your attitude convinced you that it's safer to aim low than risk disappointment. These aren't facts, they're echoes, reflections of a tired attitude. patterns passed down from others, scripts you didn't write but memorized anyway. But here's the breakthrough. If attitude is learned, it can be unlearned. If it was adopted, it can be redesigned. If it was shaped by your past, it can be reshaped by your vision. Now let's talk about what most people miss. Attitude isn't just about being positive. It's not about fake smiles or motivational posters. It's about being positioned to respond, to adapt, to rise, to not crumble every time the wind shifts. Jim Rohn said, "It is the set of the sails, not the direction of the wind, that determines where we will go." Think about that. The wind will blow, storms will come, people will misunderstand you, opportunities will be delayed. Life won't always be fair. But if your sail is set right, you can still move forward. Even in headwinds, even when others are stuck, even when it feels like nothing is working. Because it's not about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about learning how to navigate unpredictable ones. Breathe with me here. Are you letting the wind dictate your story, or are you adjusting your sails? Are you shaping your attitude, or letting it be shaped by fear? This is not about ignoring pain. This is about not surrendering to it. Because surrender is easy, blame is addictive, but responsibility, that's where your power begins. Responsibility says, this hurts, but I get to decide what happens next. This is hard, but I'm not done. This setback, it's not a full stop, it's a comma. And here's something raw. You don't have to feel brave to choose a better attitude. You can still be uncertain, you can still feel disappointed, you can even still be afraid. But inside all of that, you can also choose, I won't stay here. I'll move anyway. I'll show up regardless. I'll adjust my sails, even if the wind howls. Because at the end of the day, attitude is the soil where identity grows. Victimhood or ownership, blame or responsibility, excuse or evolution. One is reactive. The other is intentional. And every day, in every moment of friction, you get to decide which one you'll plant, which one you'll water, which one will define the season you're in. So next time life surprises you, stop, breathe. Ask yourself, what does this moment need from me? What would wisdom say? What would the future version of me choose? Not what do I feel like doing? Not what would be easy? Not what others expect? But what would the highest version of me choose right now? And then choose that. Even if it's hard, even if it's quiet, even if no one claps, even if you have to do it alone, because the moment you do, you're not reacting anymore. You're leading. And that is the first proof that your attitude has changed. Not just what you feel, but what you become. Let's keep going. So far, we've looked at attitude from the inside out, from the pain it masks to the power it can unlock. But now we go deeper, into the philosophy, the truth behind the quote, the foundation of how you view not just struggle, but your role within it. Because what Jim Rohn offered the world wasn't just motivation, it was a framework, a compass, a way of thinking that could anchor you through any season of life, a roadmap for when your path is unclear, a lighthouse for when you're lost in fog, a reminder that you are not the storm, you are the sailor. And that's a role of great responsibility and immense possibility. And when it comes to attitude, there is no quote more powerful than this. It is the set of the sails, not the direction of the wind, that determines where we will go. Let that land, because this isn't just poetic language. This is a life-defining principle. You see, wind represents life's events, the economy, other people, unexpected change, your past, your upbringing, your heartbreaks, your detours, the circumstances you didn't choose, the disappointments that came uninvited. But the sail, that's your response, your mindset, your perspective, your daily choice, the belief you bring into every room. And here's the truth. Most people spend their whole life complaining about the wind, instead of learning how to set the sail. They say, the market is bad, people let me down, I was born in the wrong place, they had more support, it's too late for me, no one understands me, life just isn't fair. They wait for the wind to change. They hope for a shift that never comes. They watch others sail by and convince themselves those people had better luck or better timing. But the wind doesn't care. It blows indifferent to our desires. It moves whether we prepare or not. It shifts and it howls and it tests us. What matters is whether you care enough to adjust your sail, to meet the moment, to grow a new pattern of response, to stop letting unpredictability control your identity. Because while you can't stop the wind, you can still decide the journey. That's the secret Jim left us with. And it's a truth that changes everything. So take a breath and ask yourself, how have I been setting my sail lately? And what would happen if I shifted it just 1 degree toward ownership? Pause here. Let's bring this down to real life. Have you ever met someone who, no matter what happens, seems to find a way forward? They lose a job, they take a course, they get rejected, they reflect and rewrite. They face failure, they ask what they can learn. They grieve, but they don't get stuck. They cry, but they still show up. They're not magical. They're not lucky. They've simply mastered the art of setting the sail. They don't wait for calm waters. They learn how to navigate storms. They keep the destination in mind, even when waves are crashing. And in that discipline, they create momentum. They move, slowly maybe, but forward. This is the first core of Jim Rohn's philosophy. Attitude equals your internal compass. No matter how turbulent the sea, your compass remains steady if you choose what it points to. Because if you don't choose, society will. Your past will, your fear will, the loudest voice in the room will. So you must calibrate your compass daily, with intention, with clarity, with a question, who am I becoming today? Let's take a breath. Jim believed that every outcome in life begins with a decision, to take ownership of your philosophy. Because your thoughts become beliefs, your beliefs become your filters, and your filters shape how you see everything. Let's break that down. Imagine something simple, a delay in your project at work. You miss a deadline, someone forgets a meeting, your idea gets ignored. One person says, "See, nothing goes right for me." Another says, "Good, this gives me more time to refine." Another might even say, "Interesting, I wonder how I could communicate this more clearly next time." Same event, different filters, different meaning, different future. Attitude is that filter. Jim called this mental positioning. You can position yourself as a victim or as a student. The victim says, "Why me?" The student says, "What can I learn from this?" The leader says, "How can I turn this into fuel?" One closes the chapter, the other begins a new one. The third builds a library from it. Attitude isn't about denial, it's about direction. It's the ability to say, this storm is real, but I can still move my sail. I can still change my angle, catch the wind differently, shift the weight of my thoughts, because the boat doesn't sail from rage, it sails from rhythm, and I can find mine again. Pause here for impact. Jim also broke down 3 key attitudes that separate those who rise from those who stay stuck. Let's walk through them. 1. Growth mindset. This attitude says, I can learn anything. Mistakes are not final, they are feedback. It takes failure and turns it into fuel. It welcomes feedback, not as attack, but as a mirror. Try this. Think of something you failed at. Instead of asking, why did I mess up? Ask, what can this teach me about how I show up? That shift alone can change your trajectory. 2. Resilience. Jim didn't use trendy language, but his entire life spoke of resilience. He grew up on a farm, he struggled financially, he had every reason to give up, but he adjusted his sail. Resilience is the attitude that says, this challenge won't break me, it will build me. It's not about bouncing back fast, it's about rising stronger, even if it takes time. Even if it takes everything you've got. Gratitude. It might surprise you, but Jim Rohn saw gratitude not as softness, but as strategy. Gratitude is the attitude that says, even in pain there is perspective. It lifts you from what's missing and shows you what's working. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about seeing beyond the obstacle. The truth is, you can't be bitter and grateful at the same time. One displaces the other. So every morning you get to choose, what lens will I wear today? Let's take a breath. Because these 3 attitudes, growth, resilience, gratitude, they don't just make you feel better, they make you better. They shape how you speak, how you lead, how you heal, how you inspire. And the best part, you don't need a title, a perfect past, or anyone's permission to adopt them. They're available to you, right now. So ask yourself, where is my sail currently pointing? Am I waiting for better conditions, or am I willing to adjust today? What am I repeating to myself? Is it helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Who do I become when things go wrong? Do I spiral, or do I pause, reflect, and choose? That choice is the essence of attitude. And that choice is always yours, even in the dark, even in the storm, even when the wind doesn't change. You can. Set your sail and let that change everything. So far, we've uncovered how powerful attitude is, how it anchors our direction, shapes our meaning, transforms our identity. But now it's time for the shift to become real. Because insight without action, that's just a good feeling. Transformation starts when we move, even if it's slow, even if it's small. So today I want to give you something practical, simple, but profound if done consistently. 3 small actions that can begin rewiring your attitude, starting right now. Action 1, the awareness audit. Write down 3 situations where you recently reacted negatively. Yes, write them. Don't just think about them. Thinking hides the truth. Writing reveals it. Maybe you were short with someone. Maybe you procrastinated. Maybe you doubted yourself before trying. Whatever they are, capture the moment. Then right next to it, ask, how else could I have responded if my attitude was calm, focused, and growth-centered? Don't write what would be perfect. Write what would be better, more conscious, more intentional, more aligned. This practice alone can help retrain your emotional memory. You begin to see your reaction wasn't the only option, and with that realization comes freedom. Pause here, because most of us think our reaction is who we are. It's not. It's just a pattern. And patterns can be rewritten. Every time you review your reactions through the lens of growth, you stretch the muscle of self-awareness. And over time, that muscle becomes instinct. So start today. 1 page, 3 situations, 1 reflection. Every day for a week. Watch what happens. Action 2, rewriting your self-talk. If attitude is the sail, then language is the rope that holds it. And every day we tie ourselves down with words we don't even question. I have to go to work. I'm so behind. This is just who I am. We think these are statements of fact, but they're not. They're scripts, and you can rewrite the script. So here's the practice. For 1 full day, track the negative phrases you say aloud or silently. Then reframe them into a version that empowers. Examples. I have to go to work becomes I get to show up today and grow. I'm so behind, I'm exactly where I need to be to take my next step. This is just who I am. This is who I've been, but I can become more. Pause. Let that breathe. You see, language is not neutral. It carries energy. And every time you change how you talk, you change how you show up. So be intentional. Build a new vocabulary around your identity. Write it on Post-its, put it on your phone, say it out loud until it feels like truth. Because eventually, it will be. You don't become positive by repeating affirmations you don't believe. You become positive by creating language that feels honest and hopeful. Action 3, train your observation muscle. This one is subtle, but powerful. Every day, your attitude is revealing itself, not in big decisions, but in tiny moments. A red light, a delayed email, a tone of voice from your partner. And most of us, we miss those cues. So here's what you do. Carry a small notepad or open a notes app. And every time you notice your attitude shifting, capture it, good or bad. Examples. I felt myself get tense when I had to wait. I noticed I smiled when the barista remembered my name. I got defensive in that meeting. No judgment, just observation. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. The more you observe your attitude in action, the more you start to influence it on purpose. Deep breath here. Because this practice, it might seem small, but it's actually profound. Awareness creates a pause. A pause creates a choice, and choice creates transformation. When you track your attitude, you slowly reclaim authorship of your day. You stop being the passenger. You start steering the boat. Let's bring it all together. 1. Audit how you react and choose again. 2. Rewrite how you speak and build new patterns. 3. Observe how you shift and recenter daily. These aren't just exercises, they are identity work. They are how you go from theory to transformation, from knowing what attitude means to living it. So don't wait for the wind, set the sail, one small shift at a time, because your future is not waiting for perfect conditions. It's waiting for your participation. Start today and start small. That's where the change begins. So here we are. You've walked the path of philosophy. You've explored the terrain of awareness. You've met your patterns. You've met your power. Now it's time to choose. Because everything we've talked about today, it only matters if it moves you to reflect, moves you to shift, moves you to lead yourself differently. Because attitude is not a quote, it's not a trick, it's not a mask, it's a compass, a decision, a way of being, and it lives in the small, silent choices you make when no one else sees. Let's pause here, because I want to ask you, gently but honestly, are you waiting for the wind to stop blowing? Or are you ready to adjust your sail? Are you hoping the storm will pass? Or are you willing to anchor yourself differently within it? Because here's what no one tells you. Growth does not begin with confidence. It begins with willingness. Willingness to see differently, to speak differently, to respond differently. Even when you feel small, even when you feel unsure, even when your voice shakes, that is the attitude shift that changes everything. Breathe into that. Because no, you don't have to be perfect to begin. You just have to begin. You don't have to fake happiness. You just have to show up with honesty. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need the courage to ask better questions. And right now, here's the question I want to leave with you. What attitude have I been practicing most lately? Fear, avoidance, blame, or curiosity, gratitude, resilience? Because what we repeat, we reinforce, and what we reinforce becomes our rhythm. So what rhythm are you dancing to? Is it one you've inherited or one you've chosen? That's what this moment is, a moment of choosing, a moment of reclaiming. A moment of drawing the line in the sand and saying, today I adjust my sails. Not someday, not when it's easier, not when I feel ready, but now, in the mess, in the middle of becoming. Because that's where real change lives, not in theory, but in alignment, in action, in self-leadership. So here's your invitation. Tonight, before you close your eyes, ask yourself, what energy do I want to carry into tomorrow? And in the morning, as your feet hit the floor, ask yourself, how can I choose to meet life today with intention? Then do one thing, just one, that aligns with the attitude you want to build. Smile first, pause before reacting, write something kind, step outside and breathe. It doesn't have to be loud, but it does have to be true, because the quietest decisions are often the ones that shape you most. Let's end with this. Your attitude is the signal you send into the world and the atmosphere you carry within. So choose to carry belief, carry presence, carry growth, carry light, even in small doses. Because as Rohn said, it is the set of the sails, not the direction of the wind, that determines where we will go. So today, set your sail and let the journey begin.